last remaining lamp racks that we managed to get out of the lamp room before they got vandalised. So if you can imagine, all these racks would have been filled with these lamps. So the miner in modern day would have had one of those. If you want to just hand it down, that would have been on your belt. Yeah. You'd also have what they called the self-rescuer, a respirator. In other words, that would give you roughly 25 minutes of air if anything went wrong. Inside there, there's you can suck it and it breathes. Unfortunately, with it being metal and it's a chemical reaction, that got very, very hot. So you have to put a gauze on it. But you've still got miners actually burnt the chins. Yeah? We've again got that. Any ideas?
Lunch. Lunch.
Yeah, so what else would you take with your snapping box when they went down the pit? Anything extra? Have a think. No, something more precious than that. Piece of wire. So when you got down underground, you were suspended above the ground so the mice didn't get you snapping. Yeah? We've then got, going back to the 1920s, this was one of the original lamps. We can hand that one round. And then, everybody heard of the safety lamp? Yeah? Misconception really, doesn't give off much light. Yeah? So what you've got in the safety lamps is depending on the height of the flame and the colour of the flame, that gives you an indication of what gas is present. So it's a good gas detector. Another gas detector is
Canary.
a canary. We can't afford a canary, so we got to instead. The rescue team to make sure that the canary went back to the surface and then we put in a respirator and brought back to life. Yeah. Stories I've also heard from Stanton that there's a load of canaries in the room, and if you walked in with your clothes on, they would chirp away. If you walked in with your pit clothes, silence, because I think they knew what was going to happen. Yeah. In here, what we've got is the remnants of the underground experience. The City Council decided to store all this equipment in here as a temporary measure, and that was in 2007. It's still here. It's taken us round about 10 years to get in this building because it was claimed to be full of asbestos. And to remove the asbestos, 220. The roof had gone, full of pigeons, and it cost £24,000 to remove the pigeon droppings. Luckily, we had support from Historic England, and they paid the lot. So that's why we're here today.
I am pleased to be able to add some drone footage to this clip to take you to parts of the site which were not possible on the Friends tour. We are still in the Ken Salt building, building 30, to take a look at the storage secured by the Friends of Chatterley Whitfield. It is mainly a mixture of rusty machinery and some models and signage left over from when the site was a British coal museum in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
This site had two very different underground experiences. From 1979 to 1986, a charitable trust provided the opportunity to go underground, and this attracted up to 70,000 visitors a year. It was forced to shut after only 7 years, with the closure of the nearby Woolstanton pit, which provided the ventilation and pumping to keep the tunnels free of water. A new shallow level tour was designed and launched in 1987 by Princess Anne. Most of the experience was above ground, but it simulated underground elements. Both periods offered visitors rare insight into mining operations that would otherwise be invisible at most heritage sites. Financial pressures finally closed this large area on Chatterley Whitfield in 1993.
It's a problem. We can't go all around the site. We've got to double back on ourselves because they say that the chimney is not safe. I can't see it falling down. It's supposed to be inspected every 5 years, and the council haven't done it until this year. And unfortunately, they only did it about a month ago. So we can't go any closer and we can't go any further than this. What you are missing out on is the Winstanley. If you want to just come over here towards the fence, you can actually see the Winstanley shaft. 1913, German design, built by the Germans, and the rumour is, because of a certain issue with so-called World War I, they never got paid. So that's the Winstanley. So what you've got now,
with the drone flying along the railway sidings on the far side of this 600-acre site, you can see the Winstanley shaft directly ahead of you. All four mining shafts, the Winstanley, Institute, Platt and Hesketh, are situated in a line on the southern boundary. This area is not accessible on a public tour, so I will use images that are already publicly available to help show the scale and significance of what survives both from the ground and behind closed doors. These are included to document nationally important heritage that would otherwise remain unseen. This film does not condone unauthorised access, which is stupidly dangerous and should never be attempted. The Institute shaft was one of the older pits on site. It served shallower workings as mining pushed deeper. It remains historically important, but was superseded technologically.
there can't be any gas underground in mines, so what we'll do, we'll have a blacksmith hearth down there, and the reason they have the blacksmith hearth is because they could then sharpen the picks quicker than bringing them to the surface. Unfortunately, they lit the blacksmith hearth and it caught the soot. The soot sorted off and there was a massive fire. What you've got is the fire itself was started in the Laura, which is past this one here, and because they've got a cistern ventilation, the actual exit for the flames came out of the Institute, which is the metal one there. That was like a Roman candle. There was a big explosion, the cage flew out of the shaft, that killed 2, and then the remaining 21 were never recovered. 1888, obviously coal meant money, so they had to get back underground, they had to get to the coal, so they sort of reopened some of the roadways, and they found 5 the miners in the lab room. Then go on, believe it or not, to 1919, when they're still working on getting into the workings. One of the people working there found a shoe in the roof. That belonged to 2 men who were wrapped together, and they were believed to be the Dale brothers. They actually buried in Swarthorne Church.
The 24 killed in 1881 were not the only deaths at Chatterley Whitfield. In total, Durham miners have a name-by-name record of 204 recorded deaths. Where bodies are not recovered, this site has to be seen as a graveyard.
So what you've got there, you've got a massive disaster in the Institute. Obviously they needed coal, so what do? You put the Platt. Now the Platt is 1883. So the building you've got there is the binding house for the Platt. In other words, there's a machine in there that operates a wire. That operates
just for you.
Today, this building contains a historic horizontal steam engine brought in from Silverdale Colliery, the region's final deep mine. It was built by John Warner and Sons of George Street, Hanley. It was on display as part of an art gallery when the site was last open as a museum. The building is now sealed, another time capsule. This manufacturer, it's a big deal. It is the last evidence that Hanley, renowned for its pottery manufactories, also had an engineering works. And its location is significant. George Street was renamed after the company in the 1950s to become Warner Street. Warner Street off Cannon Street is just below the Potteries Museum and Art Gallery and next to the Stoke Council's main offices. This was the headgear for the Platt shaft.
One of the big disasters we had here. 1883 because it says so on the end. So that's that. And also when they did the buildings, they put plaques on the buildings. That one there is 1915. Obviously that was worth doing. Here you've got the Hesketh. This is the main source of the coal, whereby you'd have 4 mine cars, 4 mine trucks, little trucks in a cage going up and down all day getting the coal out. Maximum capacity only 6 tonne, which wasn't very much. That is actually 620 yards deep. In other words, if you turn around, 10.5 chimneys. If you put 10.5 chimneys on top of each other, you'll get to the bottom of the Hesketh. Somebody talked about shifts, what shifts we worked. Yeah, they would work 6 to 2, 2 till 10. So if you're on early, 6 till 2, you've got until 20 past 6 to book on, get your lamp, get to the Hesketh, because at 20 past 6 it went onto coal riding speed, and that was 42 feet per second, in other words 29 mile an hour. Alton Towers speed, yeah? So top to bottom 45 seconds, and you didn't want to be in that. So that's why you have to be in a certain time, because obviously speed meant economy. And in there, I think the maximum they ever did was something like 1400 tons in a shift. Yeah. In 1937, we were the first ever mine to produce 1 million tons of saleable coal, and that related to actually £854,000. You, as directors of the company, because it's still a private company, could have had that money. And if you Google it, any ideas? Now, with inflation, £72 million. And then they did it again in 39, sorry. Then we've got documentation in the Heritage Centre. Why? From the Ministry of Power, it says you are encouraged to improve your production due to impending possible hostilities with Germany. So they knew what was happening. So that was the mine responding. So there you go, that's the Hesketh. What you've got there, you've got the 1915, which is the Hesketh, the cage around it, the brick cage, 1924.
The sign you can see on the Hesketh powerhouse dates back to when this building was open for visitors as part of the museum. Inside you can see the views of the historic power generating equipment. Pictured 7 years ago, the poor state of the insides will have deteriorated further since then. The Hesketh powerhouse wasn't just a room of machines, it was the colliery's utility heart. Historic motors and compressors survive here, showing how steam, electricity and compressed air powered mechanised mining. This is another historic steam engine transferred by British Coal to the museum. Compressed air was the lifeblood of early mechanised mining, driving coal cutters, drilling equipment and underground haulage machines. On the far side of the Hesketh powerhouse is a bank of 4 Lancashire boilers. Filmed in 2016, these are now hidden behind unchecked trees and other vegetation. A single boiler might serve an average factory or mill. A bank of 4 shows the scale of energy needed. This place burned coal to mine more coal. It is thought that these would have been repurposed to act as receivers to allow exhaust steam to expand before going out into the atmosphere. The Hesketh winding house had a new steam winding machine from Wigan installed in 1915 and a new winding cable drum in 1923. The engine could raise 4 mine cars with 1.5 ton in each in a double-deck cage 50 times each hour. The winding had a maximum speed of 42 feet or 13 metres a second.
And what happens, the tubs come to the top and they get, by gravity and the winches go around the corner.
The minecar circuit, also known as the Tub Hall, is L-shaped and was reconstructed in about 1952. These cars took the coal to a screening and washing plant. It was graded before being transferred directly into the rail wagons below. The screens and washing house have since been demolished. You can just see some of the rail tracks in the sidings below. I think there could have been 6 lines. These are the wagons going past the Winstanley, leaving the colliery for the last time. The scale of the railway wagons and tracks on site is very apparent from this 1939 image.
It's something that's missing. What's missing off the building? Correct. Round about 1980, the mid-80s, the trust decided they want to generate some money, so they actually sold the boilers. The boilers in there are the only bank of Lancashire boilers anywhere in the UK. There's 10 in there, and that was obviously the powerhouse. Steam powered everything. But unfortunately, Historic England found out it's a Grade 2 listed building, and they said you can't do that, by which time the roof had gone. It was never replaced, so obviously people of a travelling fraternity came in, all the brasswork's been pinched, nothing's left except the carcasses.
This is the boiler house as was, and what it looked like before even more tree growth.
Behind that, you've got the chimney. Originally 210 feet high, largest structure anywhere in the UK, and the reason it was that tall is because of the draft. The bigger the draft you can get, the poorer the coal you can burn. So obviously they were using inferior coal. Recently, probably in the 1990s, about 30 foot was taken off the top, and the rumour was Fred Dibner, did it. He didn't. Rafferty Brothers, local company called Rafferty Brothers did it. Fred came along as a publicity stunt, and if you can see the banding around the chimney, that's what he did. It's supposed to be inspected every 5 years, and the council haven't done it until this year, and unfortunately they only did it about a month ago. So we can't go any closer and we can't go any further than this. Got is, believe it or not, pitted baths, state of the art, 1938. So before that, 1938, the miner would have come up the shaft, covered in coal dust, gone home, probably had a quick face wash, and probably on a Sunday night, got the tin bath out front of the fire, had a bath. If the water was clean enough, the wife would have got in. If it was still clean, the child would have got in. So this was a revolution to the mining industry. What we've got in here is 2 floors. You've got 120 showers in the top, 120 showers in the bottom, and then you've got 3,000 lockers in the top floor and 3,000 lockers in the bottom. The reason you've got so many lockers is you would have come to work in your clean clothes, put your clean clothes in your clean locker, got your towel out, walked across the corridor and got your dirty clothes out. So that's how I used to work. So it was all organised in here. You went through a system whereby if you wanted to fill the bottle of water, it was all done. If you wanted to grease your boots to make them waterproof, that's what you do with that. So this is 1938. This is a grade 2 star listed building, and it's bad. It's really rough, because what they've done in their almighty wisdom, the council, they claim to have found asbestos in the cork edging to the roof. So they removed the panels, and that was in 2006, and replaced it with wood, and that doesn't last, does it? So all the skylights in the top floor, you can just walk, you can see the sky. So that's how bad it is. What we've done in there, put a little collection together, and Tony's going to explain about seams, etc, etc. When you've done that, we're going to come out and let's have a quick look into the canteen and the baths itself. Okay? Come on, folks.
The shower units themselves are there. Most of the lockers are still there.
Yeah.
The 3 water factories are there. So.
This shows the state of the state-of-the-art showers for the miners today. Likewise, this shows the state of the miners' lockers today, all broken into.
Above the counter where the
Yeah.
The windows are made like glasses.
It's got over those years. Absolute glass. Most of the rather safe for you.
Yeah, I used to be a chartered building surveyor and architect in the National Coal Board's Architects Department back in the early 70s and up until the mid-80s. So I was actually here, not an ex-miner. I used to work on the buildings above ground and used to produce things like these drawings here. So this is the deployment centre. We use this to process maps and plans. We've got approximately 4,500 of them, all in various states of condition. We use this building to scan them, we repair them, and then once we scan them, they go onto our database and then they go up into the Heritage Centre. So you'll see loads of rolls of drawings. These are the ones we've still yet to do. And we just keep finding them. We unroll some drawings, we unroll one like that one up there, you might find there's 11 drawings in it, rather than 12. So they just keep appearing. So we're not done yet. So this is a deployment centre where the miners used to actually come in and were instructed where they were going to be working for the day. So the room would be full of blackboards. There's another one, there's a laminated version of this there. So all the walls would be full of old-fashioned blackboards. They come in here after they've been and got dressed ready for work in the pit head baths, and then they go over to the lamp room and down on the ground. That explained to you. So these blackboards are interesting, especially bearing in mind how we wouldn't actually publicise how somebody was doing nowadays. who are performing. But that's what's on here. And this trainees board is really interesting because as you go down you can see the performance gets worse by the trainees. Because the first one shows interest, then there's some fair progress. For the last three, obviously we weren't doing too well because it just says making progress. Nowadays we'd say must try harder, I suppose. But we use it just for this. We're struggling at the moment because we've got 1 or 2 roof leaks, so I have to keep moving the stuff around. And these drawings are quite old and delicate now, so we have to be careful how we deal with them. So the reason Chatterley Whitfield's here, lots of coal underground here. The fourth drawing along over there, you can have a look at these afterwards. That one there with the coloured columns on. The left-hand column is a section through the ground in North Staffordshire, which shows you over 40 seams of coal in one place, of which about 25 are workable. And we've got about 50 miles of underground roadways on different levels underneath just this site. The rest of them, as you go down and they get smaller and smaller, reduces the number of seams in the rest of the North Midlands coalfield, which used to be part of the western area. So Cannock Chase, I think, is the next one down Staffordshire. And you can follow the different positions of seams as you go through it. The oldest plan we've got, all these are prints because we don't put the real ones out, apart from the blueprints, which I'll come to in a bit, is an 1810 section actually through this part of the colliery. These little lines here go down are the shafts, which you'll see in a bit. You'll see the bit outs for those. They only go down so far. These lines are the rock formation underground. You imagine the ground as being like a layer cake with lots of different layers, but it isn't flat like a layer cake. It's all over the place. It's uphill, downhill. Some of the seams that were mined here were on a gradient of 1 in 4, so you're working uphill or downhill at that level. So if you bear that in mind, this drawing here, that drawing is that little section of that main drawing there. So suddenly from those little shallow depths of pit shafts, they've gone right the way down. That's the improvements in steam pumping to allow them to clear the mines of water underground. And then you can see how far out it goes. It's about 3 miles. You can see that, as I say, nothing is level. And then this is a section through the ground here, from Brown Edge Overground to Audley that way, over towards Audley. And you can see that not only is it all over the place, but it's split as well by geological faults. So you follow one seam, and suddenly you get to a fault and it's disappeared. Fascinating drawings, very historic. They record on each one, there's a table showing the list of bodies and what they died of, decapitation. You'll see Pinky on there, which is carbon monoxide poisoning. So some of them escaped the initial disaster, but then they were gassed. Nasty business, but the drawings are fascinating. So, this drawing actually shows the different sections of rock. All this is done in pencil. It actually shows you the depth of the different sections. The descriptions of the rock's really quite interesting because it describes fossils that are in the rock as well. So you'll see things like fern fossils in this layer of coal and that sort of thing.
So as friends, we have no idea why these went auctioned off, probably because there's no monetary value in them. They've been on the travels. I think they were found in a large safe in the admin office. The friends rescued them. Then went over to another building where it was stored in a container that we didn't get access till about 4 or 5 years ago. And what Tony and the team are doing are digitising them for future reference, because we haven't got the facilities to keep them here because it's not the right environment. You know, we did have a machine that did about 150 photographs in one go. Then when you put it on a computer, stitch them together. Then an 18-year-old student came along with a mobile phone, click, 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 done. So that's what we're doing. That's what we do. We use a mobile phone. So suddenly these are exposed to modern technology.
This is the story of a working Chatterley Whitfield Colliery told over 200 years, and the nearly 50 years since it closed. It is unique to the potteries, but also unique nationally. It is going to rack and ruin, falling down before our very eyes. It had 13 Grade 2 and 2 Grade 2 Plus listed buildings and the ancient scheduled monument status, but all this means nothing when the site becomes completely condemned. For my own part, in my first job after leaving university, I trained as a chartered accountant for the professional firm responsible for the audit of the coal board. I was an auditor at the NCB HQ at Hobart House in Grosvenor Place, London, and the date is significant. It was during the miners' strike. In fact, Kent miners picketed these offices. I never saw any of the strikers because we were let in through a back entrance. But I have a soft spot for mining, and I think the state of the Chatterley Whitfield Colliery today is deplorable. In the last week, Stoke-on-Trent City Council have launched the very first National Heritage Emergency. It is estimated that this site needs £150 million to preserve what is there already. It is a smart move to call this emergency, but words are cheap when Stoke Council has 1001 other demands on its resources. I hope this film helps spread the word about the heritage that exists on this site. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and do share and subscribe to this channel so as not to miss future editions on the heritage of Stoke-on-Trent. Finally, I must thank Nigel Bowers and the Friends of Chatterley Whitfield for putting on these tours and allowing me to film and broadcast what I would like many more people to see and experience. Thanks for watching. Do share this clip in your networks.